G'day guys, Max here from Evidence-Based Football Manager. This is part 8 of my training analysis video series. Guess what guys, today I have a full list of the attributes that are boosted by all the training sessions in FM22. There are a total of 10 categories of training sessions in FM22, and in the past 3 videos I did a close examination into 3 of those categories, general training, match preparation and set piece training, but today is the full package. All 10 training categories will be covered today, and you will be able to compare at a glance the effects that all the different training sessions have on boosting player growth in FM22. Before I reveal the full list though, I do want to go through the experiment method that I used. I know I've gone through the experiment method a few times before, but since this video is sort of like a summary of all the different types of training, I do want to go through it again, so do bear with me. So basically what I did was I'm in charge of Leeds United, and I use the editor to set up a custom league where there are no matches played throughout the entire season. Actually, there's one match scheduled at the start of the season because the Football Manager game editor wouldn't let me create a league with 0 matches in the season. But the players in my team, they're all suspended for 1 match, as you can see here. So these guys are really playing 0 football for the whole year. This is so that I can isolate the effects of training from the effects that players get from match exposure. I have 25 players in my team. They're all made from scratch using the editor. These guys are aged between 15 to 21 because that's the age range when player growth actually happens in Football Manager. I've distributed these guys evenly into 4 different playing positions: goalkeeper, central defender, central midfielder, and striker. They're all set as CA 100 and PA 200, so there's plenty of growth that can happen for all these players. And these 3 values, professionalism, ambition, and determination, they're all set as 10 out of 20. Initially, I set these values as 20 out of 20, in order to speed up their growth. But I found that if I did that, these players would start growing way too fast, and they sort of hit an upper ceiling of how fast they could grow within a season in FM22, which makes it a little bit difficult for me to distinguish good training sessions from bad training sessions. So I did have to recalibrate these 3 attributes: professionalism, ambition, and determination, down to 10 out of 20. Next, I'll show you the coaching staff. So there are 6 members in the coaching team, including the manager, and the attributes for these guys are all 20 out of 20, which will maximize the benefit that players get from training. Although the quality of the coaching staff isn't too crucial in determining the effects of training, which is something that I've proven previously in part 3 of this training analysis series. Next, let's have a look at the training page. As I mentioned before, there are no matches played during the season, which allows me to fill up the training calendar for the whole season with just 1 type of training. Most training sessions in FM22 have a maximum limit of 7 sessions in a week, but there are a few exceptions which I will display on the screen right now on this side. Now, let's have a look at the training units. You can see I've divided these players evenly into 3 different units. So all the goalkeepers go into the goalkeeping unit, obviously. There are 5 defenders and 5 midfielders that go into the defensive unit, and 5 strikers and 5 midfielders that go into the attacking unit. Next is the individual training page. So the players, they're all training in their default playing positions and with no individual focus, and everyone's just on normal training intensity. Next is the rest page. So these are all just the default settings. Lastly, let's have a look at the coaching assignments. So if I go into the coaching assignments here, I've distributed these assignments manually so that each training category here, they all receive equal amounts of attention from the coaching staff. So given all these settings, what I do first is to collect a control sample, which is when the players do no training for an entire season. Because the players in my team are pretty young, between 15 to 21 years of age, their attributes will grow even in the absence of training, which is precisely why I need to know exactly which attributes grow and exactly by how much when these players don't do any training. So I simulated the game until the end of the season, and then I recorded, at the end of the season, I recorded the attributes of the 25 clone players. Then I repeated the same process 5 times to make sure that I have a big enough sample pool. And then I calculated the average values from those 5 simulations. I'll show you the results. So as you can see, I've recorded all the data into an Excel spreadsheet. And here you can see I've broken down the results into the different subsets of players, goalkeepers, outfield players, central defenders, midfielders, strikers, players in the attacking unit, and players in the defending unit. Remember, these are the results for the control group, which means these values, they show you how much these attributes grow when all these players are doing zero training throughout the whole season. For example, with the teamwork attribute here, the goalkeepers in my team grew on average by 0.4 points, whereas the outfield players in my team grew on average by 0.6 points. So after establishing the control sample, I started experimenting with the different types of training sessions. So going back to the training page, you can see here I filled up the entire season with a single type of training session, overall training, which means that at the end of the season, whatever growth that occurs for these 25 clone players will be due to the effects of overall training. For every training session, I repeated the same simulation 5 times, and I calculated the average values from those 5 simulations. I'll show you the results for the overall training session. Again, I've recorded the results separately for the different subsets of players, and in this Excel table here, any value above 0.2 have been highlighted in green, which means that it's a strong indication that growth has occurred for that attribute. So with overall training, you can see that most of the growth occurs for the technical attributes and the mental attributes. Physical attributes didn't show any growth except for the balance attribute, which grew by a little bit only for the strikers in my team. Remember, guys, all these values they represent the amount of growth that occurs in excess to the default amount of growth. For example, with the teamwork attribute, it says 0 for all players here, but that doesn't mean that the teamwork attribute didn't grow at all for these players during the season. Remember that when I show you the control sample, the teamwork attribute did show some growth for all players across the board. So going back to the overall training, when it says 0 in this table here, it just means that no additional boost was observed for the teamwork attribute when the players did overall training throughout the season. Now, before I move on to the other tables, a few more notes that I wanted to mention to you guys. So one, the attributes of goalkeepers were not studied this time. Goalkeepers in Football Manager, they show a very different pattern of growth compared to the outfield players. And in these experiments, I wanted to focus primarily on the outfield players. Two, these results that I'm going to show you today, they are only regarding senior team training. I didn't get a chance to have a look at the B team training or the youth team training in these experiments today. 3, the difference in the pattern of growth due to age is not considered in these tables. Player growth slows down considerably after the age of 21 in the game of Football Manager, but that is not reflected in these tables because the players that I used in my experiments, they're all below the age of 21. 4, training sessions are not just about boosting player attributes. They have some other side benefits as well, such as, raising the tactical familiarity of the team and improving the team dynamics. But those, minor benefits were not considered in these tables that I'm going to show you today. Okay, having said all that, what I will do now is I will take some time to rotate through every single training session in FM22. I'll display the attribute growth for the training sessions and the in-game description for the training sessions side by side on the screen. And I'll add some quick annotations for each training session if I spot anything interesting. Okay, here we go.
in the middle.
Three Leicester players out.
The ball out of the air is Kasper Schmeichel. This is the left back, Fuchs. The ball in behind Damian Bani! It's 11! It's heaven for Jamie Vardy! Hold the back page! Hold the front page! A Leicester player has smashed the record! What a moment in Premier League history, in Leicester City's history, in Jamie Vardy's career, which has had so many twists and turns. Who'd have thought he'd ever play at this level, let alone score at this level on such an incredible basis? 11 games in a row.
Alright, that's it. What did you guys think? Before we start discussing the results in depth, there is another table that I wanted to show you. So this one is sort of like a summary of all the training sessions, but this time this table is just focusing on the outfield players. I think it's easier to sort of compare all the different training sessions at a glance when you put all of them together in a single table like this. So again, what I'll do is I'll leave the table on the screen for a while so that you guys can have a look at it. And yeah, I'll be back in a bit. Okay, I'm back. Now, let me go through with you some of the observations that I made from the Excel tables that I showed you today. 1. I've said this many times before, but the in-game descriptions for the training sessions in Football Manager, they are totally inaccurate. The range of attributes that a training session is supposed to boost in Football Manager, it totally doesn't match the actual range of attributes that they boost in the game. 2. Most training sessions in FM22 are focused on growing technical and mental attributes. Very few sessions have an impact on the physical attributes of players. 3. The following attributes are not affected by any of the training sessions. Corners, free kicks, long throws, penalties, aggression, bravery, determination, leadership, teamwork, work rate, and jumping reach. There is no way to boost these attributes through training as far as I know, in Football Manager. Fortunately, some of these attributes do grow spontaneously in the absence of training. These attributes include corners, free kicks, long throws, penalty, teamwork, work rate, and jumping reach. Determination and leadership, on the other hand, they are two attributes that don't grow by themselves, but they can grow through other means, such as match exposure. Aggression and bravery are two attributes in the game that are fixed, and they don't normally change throughout a player's career, except when the player sustains a long-term injury. 4. There are two training sessions that do not boost any attribute growth. They are ball distribution and penalties. Okay guys, that's it for today's video. In the next video, I will finally start constructing my own training schedule based on the results that I have gathered until now. I've done 8 videos on the topic of training so far, and I feel like up until this point, I've been gathering all the necessary basic ingredients that I need before I start formulating my own training schedule. It's like if you're a pharmacist and you're trying to formulate your own master medicine, then you have to know exactly how each individual ingredients work before you can, start mixing them together in one place, which is what I'm going to start doing in the next video. So until then, take care guys, and I'll see you all next time.